Welcome to the Grapevine Wellness Show. I'm your host, Jolyn Armstrong. Our mission on this show is to bring our viewers meaningful conversation that offer hope, support, and practical tools for navigating life's challenges, while also highlighting the incredible people in our world who are doing deeply meaningful work. My guest today is a perfect example of that. Winston Meikle has spent decades in healthcare, first as a bedside nurse and later as a nurse administrator and educator. Work that has given him a front row seat to what patients actually experience, not just what the chart says, right? He's the author of a book called The Power of Love, a new model for self-healing and wellness, and founder of 11 Care Partners, an organization dedicated to helping patients become really active participants in their own healing, something I absolutely love, right? Today, Winston is going to take us into moments from his career that have changed lives for sure, saved lives, even perhaps. Yeah. Winston, I am so honored to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Jolyn. It's my honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I would love to start with one of those moments. There's a patient story that I know changed things for you. Can you take us back to that day and maybe start us off with a story?
Oh, I'm going to talk about one patient in particular that is profound in my memory, but this is not all there is. There's so many instances that I could refer to, but this one is pretty significant in the significant level of recovery that I witnessed. But I have so many. There's this one patient that I was taking care of in the cardiac surgery intensive care unit where I was working. This patient had received a very advanced treatment modality called an LVAD, a left ventricular assist device. That's what the LVAD acronym stands for. It's a device that's implanted inside of a patient's chest and is connected to the apex of their heart that helps to pump blood through their body when the heart begins to fail. This is an advanced treatment for heart failure. This device has a drive wire that comes out of the thorax and connects to a battery pack, as well as the computer controller that controls all the aspects of the device's function, including how fast it's running, how it responds to changes in pressure, and indications of pressure variances between the sides of the heart. A lot of data is derived through the drive wire that is connected to the power source and the controller. Granted that this device is connected directly to the heart and comes out of the body through the chest wall, it's a very, very sensitive device with regards to being exposed to infections. If that drive wire becomes infected, that's often a very fatal occurrence because of its direct line to the heart. So we had a patient. This is when our program first started implanting these devices, and for whatever reason, this patient developed a drive wire infection, and it was devastating to us and the family that this had occurred. Us as a system, as a department that's promoting this device and utilizing this device, it was very devastating. That was the last thing that we would want to happen. And this gentleman was already in a very compromised condition, and his heart was very, very weak, and his body was weak as a result of years of having compromised circulation from a poor functioning heart. And the family was offered by the directors of our program two options. We can attempt to treat the infection through advanced antibiotic therapies, which have a lot of drawbacks and very limited potential for success because we're trying to take infection off of an inanimate object, the wires that are.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
not like tissue that has blood circulating to it that the antibiotics could get exposed to, uh, or remove and replace the device. And in his condition, that was almost certainly a fatal outcome that he wouldn't survive that process. So I It was very devastating for me and the family because I'd grown close to the family for the short period of time that we were together before this happened. And I told them, I said, I believe that we should go with the antibiotic treatment pathway because that's got the greatest chance of success, even though it's very slim. It's greater than the chances he has with trying to replace the device. And they had some soul searching to do, and they agreed and they went along with my suggestion to pursue the antibiotic treatment pathway with a very low chance of success because of the nature of how this infection is, right?
Two awful options they had.
They had, yes, it was a lose-lose scenario for the
Yep.
most part, you know. So, so we got together and we prayed. We prayed and we prayed on the decision and we prayed for ourselves, the patient, the caregivers, and our ability to, help him. And we went ahead and we started with therapy. And he had ups and downs and very, very, very tenuous circumstances with regards to his hemodynamic status. Went into a coma.
Mm.
It was a time where it didn't look good for some time. It was very, very tenuous. He was visited one day during this time by a Reiki nurse, an energy healing expert, a Reiki master, and she went in and she did her session with him. And she came out of the room and she said something that I didn't like. I mean, granted that he was in a very tenuous state at this time. He was probably in his body or outside of his body, trying to determine what world did he want to exist in? What world did he want to move forward in? Did he want to return to this world or move on to the next? So when she came out of the room, she said to me, well, he's going to be gone in 3 days. I
Mm.
said, oh my goodness.
Wow.
I said, you know what? Thank you for that input, but please do not come back to my patient's room. Okay, I appreciate your work, but that ideation, those verbalizations are working directly against the intentions that I'm trying to put into the scenario.
Mm.
I want to save this gentleman. I want to return him to his family, and I have every intention of doing that. Okay, so thank you, but no thank you. Don't come back.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
I was,
No, right.
like, so we went ahead and we continued and we prayed. And we prayed, right? The family and I, we prayed. And every day I would take the patient and I made it my intention to make him better. We worked 12-hour shifts. So it was me and the night shift nurse most days, right? And I would leave instructions on what I would want to have happen while I was gone that I can continue on our path when I get back, and I would come into the room in the mornings and I would touch him and I would say to him, I would intentionally touch him and say, take some of my energy, take
Mm.
some of me to help you recover and come back to the family. I would intentionally try to instill my loving energy into him, and then you start to turn around. Because I say, and I've said this to my patients, colleagues all the time, that I have an infinitely renewable source of love that I can't run out of, so I can give it away freely without the worry of ever running out. So I will use it at every moment and every opportunity with abundance. So I would touch him and just pray in my own special way, like take some of this loving energy to help you restore your energy. And over a couple of months, we were able to restore this gentleman to a level of wellness that he was able to be discharged home to be with his family. He lived for several years after that, which was, you know, not supposed to happen under the circumstances that he was experiencing. So that showed me that, okay, there's more taking place in these scenarios than the five senses explains and more than conventional scientific reasoning will explain. That was just another level of confirmation for me that I had been witnessing over the years and making mental notes about. And this is just another one. I said, okay, yeah, there was something in the intention, the loving approach that we applied that helped to bring this gentleman back from the other side. It
The
was,
brink. Yeah.
like it was
Wow.
gone one way, and then we got him back and restored him to a level of wellness to go home to be with his family.
That's
And
amazing.
and it was a very, very powerful experience for me that, just further confirmed that we're living in an energetic reality with a loving, intelligent consciousness
Yeah.
that permeates our reality that is there in a way that we can't see and feel and wield, at all times, but it's there. And
Yeah.
as I learned that, I got exposed to sciences that supports that ideation. So that just confirmed this for me. That's how I came to write my theory about this whole thing.
Oh, we're going to talk more about that theory. I'm curious though, first, before we move on from this story, I'm wondering what that had to be like for you in the beginning of that when that infection set in and you're the nurse in the room when the medical odds were not good. Like I just can't imagine what that must have been like for you.
It's devastating because as a nurse, we enter the field to save lives and make people better.
Yeah.
And no, the medical field is fraught with fear-based orientations.
Mm-hmm.
So we are told to fear outcomes, fear doing something wrong, fear making
Yeah.
mistakes, and I said, you know what? I'm going to reject those ideations, and I'm going to just approach this from the strongest, most loving orientation that I can, and instill as much of a positive energy, my advanced skills, my knowledge, my understanding, and my intentions to create a better outcome for this patient as I can. And I just rejected the fear and approached it with pure love as much as I possibly could. And I believe that played a major role in how we created the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing, I don't know that much about Reiki, but the the fear-based or even neutral approach of let's try and see or something like that, right? Or yeah,
Yes.
let's avoid things that are going to harm or let's try and see and experiment a little bit or versus hey, I'm going to set an intention and I'm going to move forward with that intention, right? I think some people are afraid to hope or have those positive intentions or loving intentions.
Commit to that positive orientation. Now, when I say love, it's not necessarily an emotional condition. It's more of an orientation, a perspective, a starting point, a way of viewing things that are have the intention for creating good outcomes for the recipient of your love. Not what I can get from them, but what I can give to them.
There
You
we
know,
go. Yeah.
just had that intention in me to I'm going to make them better. No,
Hmm.
without equivocation, without question. I was just operating from a level of loving certainty. So
And you said something that hit me that is now replaying in my mind. I have this infinite abundance of loving energy. I probably said it very different than what you did. Remember the words you used.
that's the
But
same.
yeah, you've got this kind of ever-flowing amount of this loving energy. Do you think we all have that? Is this a gift
Absolutely,
that you possess? We all have
we
that.
all do. We all do. We're in a intelligent, conscious, energetic, loving universe, right?
Mhm.
And love is the underlying medium from which everything springs forth, right? So it's not that it's me alone. Everyone is exposed to it, everybody is immersed in it, but we just don't consciously accept it so that we can wield it.
Wield it.
Because we're oriented in this fear-based orientation of our reality in so many ways. We're just bombarded with fear-based thoughts and ideations and perspectives that that is the diametric opposite of love. Is
Right.
fear. It's not love and hate, it's love and fear.
Hmm.
So if you're operating from fear, you're diminishing your love. And if you're operating from love, you're diminishing your fear. So we just take on that loving orientation because that is the foundation of all of that exists. So we have to just work from that intentionally.
There we are. Okay. And I love that intention. You've used that word a few times, and I think that that is significant, right? The
I believe
intention
so.
that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, when I say intentionally, I may, as you reflect back upon what I'm saying, it makes me think of Dr. Masuda Emoto's water studies
Mm.
and how he demonstrates that water has consciousness through his dark field crystal photographs of water that's exposed to intention. Now, it says that he exposes the water to words that has an impact on the water crystal formations. But the words are sounds that in different languages hold different meanings. But the intention of the word is what is consistent, regardless of how you want to. If you're using that word in a specific language, the intention behind it is what comes across, not necessarily the words and the sounds that are pronounced.
Hmm.
What is the words evoking as an emotional perspective, emotional orientation, as opposed to just the sounds that are created, right? So it's not necessarily the word, but it's the intention that's instilled into the water that has an impact on how the water crystals are formed.
Yeah, that is a fascinating, fascinating experiment body of work by him that,
Yes,
yeah, yeah, and it's
yes,
been replicated in different ways too,
yes, yes. In
which
different
is
ways,
important. Mhm.
demonstrates that water does have consciousness. And then so in that understanding, right? If that is the truth about water's ability to respond to our intention, we have to consider the water that makes up the people in our care, the water that makes up our bodies ourselves,
Bodies.
right? So if the intention can have that level of impact in vessels outside of our body, what is the impact it's creating in the vessels of our bodies and the bodies of people that are in our care? You know
Right,
what I mean? So be mindful of the how our emotions and intentions impact the water that makes up these bodies is important.
right, right. And looping right back into this story that we started with, you had been working inside conventional fear-based medicine, right?
Yes,
And you
yes,
start to see these things happen. And you said earlier that you got introduced or you got exposed to some of this other education that's maybe outside of conventional medicine. And
yes.
my guess is that you had some intention behind that too. It didn't just happen upon you, right? But you probably sought out some information.
Well, these things that were occurring, some of these phenomena and experiences were occurring, needed explaining.
Yeah,
I needed greater understanding because it was undeniable that it was happening, right? It was
yeah,
taking place, right? And I often would say to my colleagues that there's more going on here than the five senses explains. Undoubtedly, without question, there's more happening in these experiences that is explained by the conventional five senses mechanistic reality that we've been taught to believe we're living in.
hmm,
And so I was always had my eyes open and a radar on for explanations that made sense.
yeah,
That's the information that would bring understanding to this phenomenon.
hmm,
And then I got exposed to quantum physics.
hmm,
Quantum physics double-slit experiment as a primary experiment that opened my eyes. It was an experiment that raised more questions than answers,
for everyone, right? Yeah.
but at the same time, it strongly suggested that mind over matter is taking place in our reality, right?
Hmm, hmm,
And so, as I learned a little bit more about quantum physics, I said, let me explore this topic some more and see if I can get a greater understanding of what's taking place. And then I read the book Quantum that talks about meeting of brilliant minds, a Savoy meeting of scientists in 1927 that
hmm.
took place in Brussels, Belgium, where the two prominent scientists at the time was Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr. Albert Einstein was steeped in the camp of the mechanistic particle physics reality that have come to understand in a
Provides
scientific.
lots of answers.
Yes, yes,
Surface level.
and Niels Bohr was in the quantum physics realm of understanding, where observer effects and quantum entanglement were being explored and tried to be understood. And Albert Einstein couldn't deny what was taking place, but he only referred to it as spooky action at a distance.
There we go. Yes.
That was because he, in his world, this was unexplainable phenomena taking place, where observer effect was taking place and the quantum
Yeah.
entanglement that they were seeing in their experiments. And
Can I
so,
can I pause you here and just tell the audience like my I am not smart enough for quantum physics conversations, but my some of my first exposure to this whole subject was some YouTube videos that I found done in cartoon form, where the double slit experiment was explained in a way that I felt like, okay, I can't understand it. Okay. And I'm not sure I've met anyone or read anything where people do understand it. But essentially, yeah, these particles going through a single slit or a double slit, I can't remember now,
that's
behaved one way when they were not observed and another way when they were observed. Like,
when they were interacting with consciousness.
yeah, crazy. And then and you're probably going to dive more into this too, but the quantum entanglement where you can
Yes.
do something to a particle over here and a particle like across the
Universe or across the galaxy.
universe. Yeah.
Just once they're entangled and they respond instantaneously to the stimulus that one is exposed to, right? Which
Amazing.
defies the time-space component that Albert Einstein tried to explain. So that's how he's saying spooky action in the distance, because in his calculations, for something to traverse space, there's a time component that has to be accounted for. That in the quantum entanglement demonstrations, that's negated.
Yeah.
So that defied his principles altogether. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So now that experiment was the most basic form of the quantum physics double slit experiment. Then there's a delayed response experiment that is similar to the double slit experiment, but it uses mirrors and deflectors that delays the response of one of the molecules or photons that it hits the resulting wall. That demonstrates that in the quantum entanglement component, there could be a retroactive response that changes things that's already happened.
So
So
crazy.
it can have an effect on the past, because the outcome of the second particle, which was delayed by time through the mirrors, affects what already happened, what already took place on the first
Yeah.
time. So that's raising more questions than answers, but demonstrating that there are phenomena taking place that defies the particle physics mechanistic reality that we're led to believe that we're living in,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So there's something more powerful going on. What is that more powerful thing? It's the fact that we're living in a conscious, energetic reality that is subject to consciousness.
Yeah.
Consciousness that we're co-creators and the observer effect, and we are participatory in the creation of this reality. So if that's the truth, so I said, okay, now given that understanding, okay, if that's
What do we
what,
do with that? Because for me,
yes,
I'm stuck in the
exactly.
questioning phase, right? I'm like, okay.
Listen, so if that's the truth, then okay, we may not be able to fully understand it or completely wield it for whatever reason. But if that is the truth of our reality, then we should be acting purposefully to use that to the benefit of the people in our care. We should be approaching what we do from that perspective, that understanding that yes, our thoughts matter, our intentions matter, our energy matters. So let's wield it purposefully instead of letting it happen incidentally. And then we have these anecdotal stories about, wow, that was a curious happenstance. Wow, that was a coincidence. Wow, minor miracle. No, that might have been quantum reality working as it does.
There we go.
That's what we should understand about our reality. So the debate between Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr from 1927 went on for nearly a century.
Hmm.
Until 2022, when another scientist by the name of Anton Zellinger, he did a study using light from two quasar stars to try to observe or prove quantum entanglement observer effects, right? And at the conclusion of his research and his study, which he won a Nobel Prize for in 2022, he determined that the fact of the matter is that we're living in a quantum reality, not the particle physics reality as expressed by Albert Einstein. That observer effect is real, quantum entanglement is real. So, all right, so that kind of settled the debate for the most part. So we know that that's the truth of our existence, right? Because that's what the Savoy meeting in 27 was trying to determine. What is the nature of our reality?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So in 22 now, Anton Zellinger said, okay, I'm going to explore this question to see what evidence can I find and where and what side of the debate does the evidence fall on. And
Hmm.
his experiments revealed that the evidence shows that we're more in the quantum reality than we are in the particle physics reality. So if that is the truth of our existence, then we should be acting purposefully from that understanding.
And you've chosen to say, okay, yeah, there's tons of evidence. There's this more clinical evidence, these studies that are done and replicated over time from back at Einstein's day clear until now and forward, I'm sure.
Or it's
And
ongoing.
yeah, and also in the medical world, you're seeing the effects of this when you're intentional, when you are, yeah, when you're saying, okay, I'm gonna live and work and care for people in this intentional way, using what we do know. We don't know everything about this. So there are
Yes.
more questions and answers from quantum physics. It's craziness over there, but you've been able to say, okay, I'm going to take this forward and move and use this in my work.
apply
Tell
it
me
to
more about
apply it
that.
to the my world. And my world
Yeah,
is nursing. I've been a nurse my entire adult life.
yeah.
Started out at 16 in the home health aide and became a licensed practical nurse at 18. And I've
Wow.
been in the field of nursing my entire adult life, and I love nursing. So I want to apply it to a field that I loved and I understood very well. And I feel that it would have a great benefit to humanity because we are creating better outcomes for people.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, let me put together a perspective, a theory that would help nurses to wield this power more purposefully in their care delivery scenarios so that we could bring about better outcomes for people.
Love it. Love it. And so you are taking what you've learned and what you see, the evidence that you've seen, and you've developed a way for more nurses to do this.
Yes.
Walk me through those principles. Walk me
Okay, well, we have to accept that. Okay, well, I have a 4A's transformational process, right?
through.
4A's are acknowledge, accept, adopt, and actualize, right? So through the presentation of the supportive sciences, and the subtitle of my theory is for the nursing theory is when science meets spirit, a new kind of nurse is born, right? And the
Mhm.
reason why I say science meets spirit is because what we're observing is that the ancient wisdom traditions have been saying this for centuries,
Sometime, yes.
millennia, have been suggesting this for millennia that our intention, our mindset has an impact on our physical reality, right? What goes on inside of our heads can have an impact on the observable physical reality outside of our bodies.
Mhm.
So, what's going on now is that advanced scientific study and research is now proving and supporting these ancient wisdom traditions lore or explanations or guidance
Here we are.
that's been taking place for thousands of years is now being proven through advanced study. So now, okay, what I'm saying is that let's take, we are led to believe that science and spirituality are on opposite sides, that you can't
Mm.
have science and spirituality, you know, you either on one side of the
Yep.
argument or the other side of the argument, right? And I'm saying that that's a mistake that
Yeah. They actually go hand in hand. Yeah.
they're actually one and the same, just being
Oh.
explained from different perspectives. From whereas our scientific process needs reproducible, evidential, explanations to be accepted and validated. The spirituality world is saying that okay, faith is enough. You
Mm.
know what I mean? You know,
Mm.
but
Right.
but the
Right.
phenomena is taking place, but it's more spiritual than it is mechanistic.
There we
And
are.
now these studies are demonstrating that this ancient wisdom traditions may have been right all along. And now we're catching up to it through our advanced scientific studies to demonstrate that these things were right all along, right? So now I want to demonstrate that it's not, they're not opposing, they're not different, they're the same, just being seen and observed and explained from different languages or different points of view. There's
Mm.
the language of science and there's the language of spirituality, but the phenomena is the same. The energetic reality is the same. The power of consciousness is the same. Just being explained differently from different languages, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like, um, I don't know if this is true, so I'm going to pick your brain here a little bit, but it seems like as our kind of modern Western medicine has improved, has increased, has made progress, it being fear-based, we've taken this where these things are one and the same, medical advances and the spiritual side of things. And medicine has just moved away from that, but we're now coming perhaps back, or
Besides,
your suggestion, maybe everyone's coming back together and saying, hold on.
hold on, yes. Wait a second. Now, this sounds like the same thing.
Yeah.
This looks like the same thing. That's what the advanced sciences are now proving. It's like, when you think about the quantum physics sciences experiments and Dr. Masuda's water studies experiments, the POEX chicken and robot experiment. Have you heard of that one?
Tell me about it.
Okay, there's a French scientist that did an experiment using a random numbers generator robot that has a program to traverse or cover the area of a specific perimeter and randomly cover the entire area of this enclosed space using random numbers generating programming. And it would just go back and forth all over the space and just cover the whole space. And then there were newly hatched chicks that were placed at one end of this rectangular pen that imprinted on the robot as if the robot was its mother. Right? The chicks, the first thing it saw was a robot, so it thought that the robot was its mother. And it had ideations of that thing is my mother. And then the robot defied its programming and spent all of its time at the side of the pen closest to the chicks.
Whoa. A robot.
A robot.
What does
That
that
had a
mean?
pro. That means that something's taken place that needed some explanation that defies what we believe to understand about our reality.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That means the intention of a lower form of life, like a chicken. It's not supposed to be the most intelligent animal on our planet. It's
Right.
not supposed to have that be the most powerful animal on our planet intellectually. But its intention of that's my mom, brought the robot to spend the majority of its time at the side of the pen closest to the ship.
Wow. And there wasn't language and there wasn't
Mm-hmm.
programming in the way that we think of programming. It was that,
The robot defied its programming.
yeah,
Programming told it to randomly traverse the entire space.
yeah.
And once the chick's consciousness became involved, it defied its program and spent its time closest to the chick.
Wow.
It kept moving, but it was in a closer proximity to where the chick was.
More of these experiments that I hear about confirm for me how much more there is that we don't understand than there is that we do understand.
So,
It's just,
exactly.
how am I supposed to know what's going on here? I don't know. However, being curious, I've found is so helpful for me. I'm able to listen to these experiments, and you're not talking about experiments that were run haphazardly, that were debunked or whatever. These
Yeah.
are things that have like been replicated. These are things that have,
Reproducible experiment.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
interesting. Such
Yes.
just I'm fascinated by it. Yeah.
So that is just further confirmation of that there's more going on than our conventional wisdom experience, right? So
Hmm.
now we understand that that's the truth of our existence, then let's act purposely within that the
Yeah.
truth. And not, I mean, I applied it to nursing, the field that I love, the field that I've been a part of for 43 plus years. And I found a place for it there, and I wrote a theory based on those ideations. But it can be applied to every aspect of our lives where we're interacting with the outside world, outside of our minds, outside of our bodies. It can be wielded to bring about better interpersonal interactions with people, and to bring with people and animals, and just the environment. So it's a power that exists that we don't fully understand, we're not fully in control of.
Right.
We're able to access it with our focus, our loving intention, our energetic expressions, but it's not something that we are fully in control of.
Right.
However, for whatever level of access or ability to control that we do have, we should wield that purposefully, lovingly, to create the best outcomes that we can. And that's the idea.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I think it's important here to note, where you're talking about these things are the same thing too, using like wielding what we do know, what these experiments have shown us with this intention to help to heal. Well, I want to be clear, you're not saying that this is a replacement for medical, like Western medical treatment. This is
No?
the same thing. Like
Well,
this
it's
is
the same thing as augmentation. It's
mm,
okay. If we were a shaman and we were in a cave
hmm
and we had no other stimulus, maybe we would have a greater ability to wield and manifest these powers, right?
hmm
Maybe, but we live in a world where we have exposures to ideas, other people's intentions. We're overlapping our energy fields with others. So our ability to focus these powers is limited by those phenomena, right? So we have to work within the world that we're existing in, right? So we cannot ignore the reality that's already in place. But what we can do is augment it and accentuate and help to bring about better outcomes by working within the system, by bringing this, but also bringing this power of love and intention and energetic expression into this existence to make them create better outcomes. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, even in the story that you told us earlier, you walked into a patient's room and with intention. You touched him and said, take some of my energy
Yes.
and, use that to help heal, right? You
Yeah.
didn't tell him, leave this hospital room and go,
Yeah.
into a
Don't
shaman's
go
tent. You
to
didn't
go.
tell him that. You
No,
went into that environment using the medical systems that we know
it
and
was already in place that we
yep,
were already
yep,
working with and within.
yeah,
It was already there. I didn't want to negate the things in
of
our
course not.
the reality that was there, because that there was there the significance of the ability to affect change existed within those
It did.
devices and things that we were, they were already there and they were working and they had their part to play, that if we abruptly removed them, it would not work out very well, right? So,
Right, right. It's not what
so
we're talking about here. Yeah,
but we can accentuate and enhance those devices, those things that are in place with the energy and the intention that we
yeah,
will, right?
yeah,
So, that's, I'm not saying that we can replace what is in place now, but we can help it to work better.
absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. And the book that you wrote for nurses to be able to do just like what you've been doing, go into patient rooms with this intention and bring this and add it back into the medical practice that we have is just such a beautiful thing. And yeah,
That's the idea to
yeah,
enhance the things that we're doing with this power. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
We can have an impact to help create better outcomes through adding this to the devices, the therapies, the protocols, the procedures that we're already using. You
Yeah.
know, things that are
Yeah.
already there. We can help them to be more successful by adding this to the formula, to the experience. You know?
Mhm. So we've talked a lot about kind of your perspective from the nurse's perspective here, using this intention and what we know, what these this ancient knowledge has shown us, right? I'm wondering if we can shift a little bit to the patient's perspective.
Absolutely. That's what Loving Care Partners is, and the Power of Healing and Wellness book is about. Okay.
Beautiful. Tell me more. Yeah.
So now, the power of love nursing theory is speaking directly to nurses and direct patient caregivers,
Hmm.
right? The second book is wellness and healing and wellness, self healing and wellness perspective, speaking to patients and recipients of care, right? When you're on the other side of the formula, and now you're in a scenario where you're trying to create better outcomes for yourself.
Hmm.
It's the same principles, just a different perspective, right? The same principles that matter is real, and you can use it to your benefit. You know, in my experience with my patients, you know, because it's a scary scenario that they're in quite often when they're not well and they're just undergone some significant surgery or some scary processes, that fear would be the predominant orientation, right? That
Yep.
they're scared of what's going to happen to them, uncertain of the outcomes, uncertain of how this is going to work for them, if this is going to work for them. And quite often, patients would say, "Oh, this is not working. I'm not going to make it," or
Yeah.
you know, and I'm like, "No, I'm sorry, but." You can't use those words while I'm here, okay? Like that ideation, that energy, is working against everything that I'm trying to achieve here. I'm trying to restore your wellness and help you achieve the best possible outcome that I can help to create.
Hmm.
So, using those words and having those thoughts in your head is working against me. So, I would like for you to not choose those words and let go of those ideations. Don't think that way. Think about, I said, in order for us to get the outcomes that we want, we have to focus on the outcomes that we want. We can't give the fears that we want that much energy. We can't give them that much of our consciousness to start, considering all the things that we don't desire. So let's start focusing on what you do desire. And I would tell them all the time, let's start thinking about 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, when this is all behind you in a distant memory and you're at your poolside with your family,
There
or
we
you're out to dinner with your family enjoying their company, and you're doing something that you enjoy. What do you like to do? You like to fish? Just think about, I would talk to them and try to take them off of the fear based orientation and put them onto a love based orientation, thinking about when they're not in this condition. And this is probably one of the few only times that I would ask someone to not be in their uh, present time experience, being here and now.
go.
Don't be here and now, because what you're feeling here and now might be scary. The pain might be scary. You experience some level of discomfort. I don't want you to focus on that. I want you to focus on what you're going to be doing weeks from now when this is just a memory.
There we are. Yeah.
So I want to help them focus on that and understand that your thoughts and ideas contribute to your outcomes. So let's focus on what we desire. Understand
Beautiful.
this is the truth of your reality, that your thoughts, intentions matter. So let's be mindful and careful of what we do with them. Okay, how
Yeah.
we use them. And that's the nature of the self-healing and wellness book. Speaking to the patients from that point of view, helping them to understand that this is their reality, that their subjective thoughts can have an impact on their objective, observable physical reality. So be mindful of how you wield that power.
I'm thinking that my doctors last year must have read your book or seen you somewhere. I received a scary diagnosis last year, thyroid cancer, and one thing I was told consistently by the medical personnel I interacted with through that experience was your mindset is going to make a big difference here, right? What you focus on is going to make a big difference. Another way of saying exactly what you've just said, focus on what you want to happen, right? Keep like, yeah, let's set fear down a minute
Yeah.
and focus on what we want. I've heard some people just the pushback to that mindset is I don't want to get my hopes up.
Let's see now.
Yeah.
Okay. And that, in response to that, right? Okay. Don't want to get your hopes up. All right. Okay. Let's say that this doesn't have the outcomes that you desire, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
What good was spending your time that you didn't have in that orientation of fear? And you know what I mean? Where you
Yeah.
could have been focusing on the positive things in your world and you know everything else that you enjoy and love. You know,
Mhm.
even if you end up in a place where you don't have the outcomes you don't want to waste it in a despair condition, right? You don't want to waste it being in despair. So
Yeah.
let's be in the best state of mind that you can be in for this experience, for this time.
Absolutely. Yeah. If the outcome isn't what you hoped, there's time there to pay for that. There's time there to experience
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Why pay that price up here right
Yes.
now?
Right
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why be in that world when you could be in a world of positivity and joy and
Absolutely.
pleasure and hope and why give it the energy?
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. I love that. I love that.
But I know for certain that more important than the diagnosis and prognosis itself is how you respond to it. As
Mm,
your doctor was saying, right?
yeah.
It's like, okay, you know, if you get a bad diagnosis and a poor prognosis, your response is more significant than the diagnosis or prognosis itself, right?
Right.
Because if you go into despair and you give up and you start doing things that are detrimental or defeatist, you're going to speed up that process, right?
Yep.
You're going to have things happen that's going to speed up the detrimental effects. But if you're now going to a hopeful, prosperous, loving, like, yeah, I'm going to win. You start doing things that help you to win. You start taking on the energy. You start taking on practices and behaviors that bring about a more winning scenario. You know what I mean? So, more important than the diagnosis itself is how you respond to it.
I love it.
So,
Yep. Intention leads to orientation, leads to outcome.
there you go. Boom. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Yep. And so that feels like something actionable for our listeners and our viewers here, right? Mindset. If you find yourself in a place of fear, of doubt and all of those things, working on changing that mindset.
Work and changing. You know, I often I'd rather anger my patients than to have them be in despair. You know what I mean?
Right?
I
Right.
would get, don't, I don't want you to be in despair mode. Be mad at me, right? If you have to be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I'm going to piss
Yep.
you off rather than to allow you to stay in that state of despair. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? I'd rather annoy you and get you upset and lose sight of that despair, even if it is to just change your focus of energy towards me of anger. I'll take that on more than I can allow you to stay in a state of despair.
That's beautiful. Anger's motivating,
It
right? And
is.
so why not?
So that's all, like, to shift their perspective. I would go that far,
Yeah.
but then as they get their attention now, then I start saying, you know what, you see that you didn't have to be in that state of despair. You can start thinking differently. You can
Yeah.
start having a different perspective. So
Uh, oh,
turn
yeah.
it,
So you've written a book for nurses. You're writing and almost finished with a book
for
for the other side, for the
everybody
patient.
else.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And 11 care partners. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Loving Care Partners is a healthcare consumer advocacy platform that I put together to help people navigate the healthcare system to create better outcomes for themselves by being informed, educated, and empowered through better understanding, to greater understanding of what's going on within the system.
Mhm.
When a doctor comes to talk to you about what they understand about your condition or what their plans are for how they're going to move forward with their treatment plans, you're more effective when you have a greater understanding. You can be a better participant with a greater understanding. So I'm providing a platform where this understanding can be garnered, where you can come to my platform and read documents or view video tutorials that are given by nurses, that are given to the public from an insider point of view, how they
Mhm.
would speak to their family member going through what you're going through and tell them this is what's going to happen, this is what you should expect, this is your role, this is how you participate in this experience to create the best outcome for yourself.
Mhm.
And then then we have the supplement side where we also provide preventive, support that you can uh, involve yourself in nutritional supplementation that will prevent you from having some of these experiences and also help you to recover through nutritional support, because a lot of our conditions can be broken down to be derived from nutritional malfunction.
Yeah, a
You
lot,
know,
right. A lot of that. That was my
not,
experience for sure. Mhm.
nutrition will be a lacking of essential element, essential mineral, essential enzyme, essential, so if you can have those things in your existence, before some of these occurrences happen, is you can ward them off. So
Beautiful.
let's take a preventive approach. And if you are already in the condition, this is how you respond purposefully through education, information, and understanding. When you engage with your provider, you know the right questions to ask to give you a better understanding. You know what options that you have in approach, where the system may not necessarily provide you with nutritional pathways. You
Mhm.
know,
Yep.
they may not be able to give you that because they're not trained in that. They're trained in there's a pill for this, an injection for that, a surgery for this, and that's what they know. Their approach to responding to illness is from what they get from medical school,
Of
and
course.
medical school is teaching them how to prescribe for the
Yep.
most part. So they're not really trained in nutritional responses, preventive courses, and alternative methods of dealing with situations. So we provide some of that information as well as to say, okay, now you have this condition. This is known to be beneficial through some research or some anecdotal experience. You might want to supplement or augment what's going on with your doctor with this with these nutritional supplements or devices or what have you.
Love it. Love it. Okay. Yeah. And not that the prescription and medical model is bad. It's just one part of it. It's just one
It's
part of,
incomplete.
and this is
It's
more wraparound. Right.
exactly. It's just
Mhm.
not It's not all there
It's
is.
not the only thing. Right, right,
It's not
exactly.
all there is. There's
Love
more
it.
that you could do.
Love it. Love it. And Winston, tell me where people can find that. Find
Okay.
you, find your resources.
Lovingcarepartners.org. Lovingcarepartners.org is our platform.
Mhm.
Poweroflovetheory.com is my author's website where you find my works, my books, and my research. And mobilelabtext.com is my mobile clinical diagnostic service, where we provide mobile clinical diagnostics, where we provide services in four service divisions, with phlebotomy and specimen collections for clinical labs, drug and alcohol testing for DOT compliance, mobile radiology services, where we bring mobile X-rays and ultrasounds to the patient's location, and molecular DNA testing for paternity and pandemic pathogen testing. So that's mobilelabtext.com, lovingcarepartners.org, and poweroflovetheory.com. That's
Beautiful, Winston. What a just an amazing body of work that you've produced over time. I can't wait to see what your future holds. I'm
Thank you.
I'm so honored to have you on the
Thank you.
show.
It's my pleasure to be here to have this discussion with you and
Mhm.
to be able to have your audience to get from us conversation, whatever they can take from it that would help them in their lives for them to create better outcomes for themselves. It's my honor and pleasure to be part of that.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. What a gift to my listeners. And for those of you listening now, yeah, thanks for being here and sticking with us. And Winston, again, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of the Grapevine Wellness Show. If you found it helpful, be sure to like and subscribe and share it with someone who might need to hear it. If you're struggling with trauma or grief, anxiety, depression, or if your relationship is struggling, maybe along with some of those things, I want you to know that there is a path forward and you don't have to walk it alone. Visit grapevineinnerwellness.com to learn more about the work that I do and how we can work together. And I'll see you next time.